Hey everyone, so tonight we're gonna turn a couple of quick easy projects. I had a customer of mine bring me in a tree limb from a black walnut tree that blew down in his yard, and he asked me if I could turn a couple of project gifts for him. I believe he's gonna give them to his children, and I said yep. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna do two kits. You can get these at Rockler. One is a rockler.com. One is a pizza cutter and one is a pizza server. And so we're gonna turn the handles for these. They give you the metal parts that you need to create the pizza cutter, and then you turn the handle out of wood and assemble them. So these are very simple, these are very easy to do. You don't need any fancy tools. You can do these with carbide cutters, a very simple lathe, and you can knock them out in a fairly quick amount of time. So let's jump right onto the lathe here and let's get these knocked out. All right, so in the Rockler kit, you get everything you basically need except the wood and a couple of very simple tools. You get instructions on how to do it, and they're pretty detailed and they're really good. You get a wrench. You need this wrench to install the insert. This is a threaded insert that gets turned into your turning project, and then in turn the pizza cutter head will get threaded into that. So you need this wrench to put that in. You get the pizza cutter head itself. Other than that, you need a 7/16 inch drill bit, and I don't imagine you'd have to have it, but I would really recommend you get this mandrel from Rockler. It's a 1-inch turning mandrel. They've got it on their website, and it actually is the same diameter as the head of the pizza cutter, so it gives you a guide as to how big around to cut your handle where it meets up with the pizza cutter. So I would highly recommend you get this. And of course you'll need a lathe, a turning lathe, unless you could, I suppose, do the handle by hand without a turning lathe if you want to whittle it out or whatever. And then in that case you wouldn't need this mandrel, but you'd still need the drill bit. You'd need a lathe, and you'd need tools to actually make the handle. So yeah, so that you get everything you need with the exception of basically these two tools. So and the lathe and the wood itself. So let's go head over to the lathe and let's turn a project. All right, so I've got my wood blank here, my handle blank, chucked up in the lathe. I've kind of got an idea how I want to turn it, but the first thing we have to do is we have to drill a hole. We have to drill a hole for the insert. So I have a Jacob's chuck that's mounted on a number 2 Morris taper with my 7/16 inch drill bit in here, and the instructions say to drill the hole 1.5 inches deep. So I've got a piece of tape on here to mark off 1.5 inches. We're going to spin this thing up, and then we're going to drill the hole. So my tailstock will only go so deep, so I hit the end of my travel on my tailstock, so I had to shut the lathe off, back it out, and now I'll have to finish plunging the bit. So there I'm at my tape line right there. So there I'm 1.5 inches deep. It's just easy to do it this way, and if you don't have a drill press, this is a very effective way to do it. If you have a lathe, you essentially have a horizontal drill press. So what I'm going to do now, as long as I've got it here and in this position, I'm going to put my live center back in just to add a little bit of stability to this. And I'm going to hog away some of the material. As long as it's here, this seems like a good place to do it. So I'm just going to go ahead and hog away some of the material and bring it down closer to a diameter of what the handle is going to be. All right, so I've got most of the material turned down. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to install the insert, but the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to true up the face of this just to make sure it's nice and flush. It's kind of important that you get the insert in straight, because otherwise when you go to use the arbor to use the arbor from Rockler to finish off turning, it'll wobble otherwise, and you want to keep that to a minimum. So I'm just going to face this off and make sure everything's nice and true. All right, so I know everything's nice and straight now. Now I'm going to install the insert. So this is quite simple. They give you the insert and they give you the tool. And I'm just going to make sure that I'm in there nice and straight. Start turning it, and this thing will actually start cutting its own threads. And then I'm going to stop and I'm going to just turn. Yep, looks like everything's nice and true. So now we'll start spinning it in. Now it's going to get quite tight here, so I'm going to use a punch, because my lathe doesn't have a locking feature on it. And I'm going to use this to give me some leverage to help turn this in nice and solidly. And I'm actually going to bury it just a little bit. I want the insert to sit just a little bit below the line of the wood so that it has a nice snug fit. There. All right, so now we can take the piece out of the chuck. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take my jaws off my chuck. I could leave them on, but it's going to make accessibility of it really difficult. So with this chuck, it's a simple 5mm Allen wrench. I'm just going to, there's 2 bolts per jaw insert. And I'm just going to pop them off here, and I'm just going to take them off. And then when I do that, it'll leave the mechanism of the jaw exposed, and that mechanism will actually clamp down on the arbor much better. Because if I leave this on and if I close my jaws up, you can see that there's quite an opening in there, and it doesn't clamp onto anything. So that's not going to work. So I have to take these off so I get some clamping. And since they come off fairly easy anyway, and it's not such a big deal, we'll just pop them off here and make our lives easier. Okay, so now I have my jaws off, and now you can see if I spin my jaw shut, now those inserts come very, very close to one another, and that way I can put this arbor in here, close it up, and it's going to hold it fast. I'll tighten up my chuck a little bit. I'll tighten up my chuck a lot. I'm really gonna reef down on this thing to make sure I get this good and tight, because the last thing I want is for this thing to start loosening up on me while I'm turning. So I got it good and snug now. Now with the workpiece, with the insert into it, it's just a matter of threading it on here. And there we go. Now it's ready to turn. Now we can finish off the handle. Now keep in mind that this is going to be the piece that attaches to the pizza cutter, and this will be the butt end of it, so we could turn this however we want. I've got an idea. I want a little bit of a palm swell up here, a little bit of a swell up here. I want it to kind of angle down and then come up and do a small knob on the end. So I'm going to bring my live center up again just for a little added security. Not a big fan of workpieces coming flying out of the lathe. I am wearing my face shield when I turn, so I am being safe. All right, so I've got the handle the way I want it. I don't see any knots or any occlusions or anything that looks like it's going to be a problem. Now I'm just going to do a little final touching up. My bits are a hair on the dull side, so I'm going to have to do just a little bit of sanding, but yeah, handle's pretty much the way I want it. Okay, so the handle's the way I want it. I'm going to move my tailstock out of the way and I'm going to work on the end here a little bit. Now when you're working on the end of a handle like this and it's kind of hanging out in the wind, you want to make sure you just take really light cuts. You don't want to get too crazy with the cutting tools because it could break, it could come flying out of here, and an evening in the emergency room is not my way of, my idea of spending a good evening. So. So I've got a little tiny hole on the end of this handle, and that's from where the live center was holding on to it. So I'm just going to take a little dab of CA glue, and I'm just going to just let it fill in that hole. A little bit of activator. Okay, should be sealed up. Now I'm going to just chuck it back up in here, and we're going to just use sandpaper from here on out. Sand this thing down nice and smooth, put a finish on it, and it'll be all said and done. All right, so I'm sanded to 300 grit. This is the fun part. This is the part I always like the best, is putting on a coat of finish, because then you get to see what your work is like, or what you created. So I'm just using tung oil. Nothing special here. It's a good finish. It seals up nice. And that's where you get to see what you just created, is right there. And look at all that. That's, now mind you, this came off of a branch. Last summer we had quite a windstorm come through, and it knocked down some trees. And this was the branch off of a tree. And rather than waste it, the customer decided, you know what, I'm gonna see if I can't make something out of it. So now I got a coat of that pit finish on there. I'll just spin it up. And kind of work it in there really good, get it all nice and sealed up. I'll put 2-3 coats of this on and really get a good layer of oil on there. And there it is. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful piece of wood. All right, so now we've got our handle done. Got a a couple of coats of sealer on it or of oil, tung oil on it. And now it's just a simple matter of taking the pizza cutter and screwing the handle on. And there you go. You've got a high quality, beautiful wood handle, and this is black walnut on a very nice, functional, usable piece of kitchen equipment. So there you go. Project that didn't take much more than about an hour to do from start to finish, and you can very easily do these with very minimal skill level and turn out a really high quality item, which you can give as a gift, or you can use it yourself, and you'll have it for years to come. So thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful for you, and happy turning.